The Federal Reserve has been incentivizing you or even indirectly paying you to save your money for the last year and a half, but it's not going to last for much longer. We need to talk about the Federal Reserve's influence on your ability to save, and we need to talk about what you need to do to adjust to the Federal Reserve shifts that are coming up in 2024. The Federal Reserve is the dictator and the arbiter of interest rates in our marketplace. Basically, what that means is the Federal Reserve sets what's called the Fed's funds rate, and that determines what banks borrow money from them at, and thus what banks typically pay depositors as well as charge on interest rates for loans. The Federal Reserve in the last year and a half or so has had to raise that rate significantly as a tool to fight against inflation. They've successfully done that for the larger part. Inflation has come down significantly over that year and a half. In the process, it's made it much more attractive for you to save. The Federal Reserve wants you to pull that money out of the economy and park it to the side. And they've raised interest rates in order to entice your ability to do so, indirectly speaking. That having been said, the Federal Reserve has gotten very close to being successful with its objectives with inflation. Thus, it means that the Federal Reserve now will be pivoting sooner or later. And almost every analyst has come down to the conclusion that 2024 will be the year to start that pivot. If they are accurate in that depiction, in that prediction of the Federal Reserve's actions, that means it can no longer be, or it may no longer be attractive for you to continue to save as far as CDs and savings rates are concerned. What you're getting paid now, you may not be getting paid by the end of 2024 going into 2025. So with that having been the case, you need to be cognizant of that, because that means that you're no longer going to be able to beat inflation, which is the real purchasing power of that savings, in savings accounts or in CDs, unfortunately. So that having been the case, what that basically means is that you're going to have to be cognizant of that and understand what you're saving for, and if you should continue to save in those vehicles or find slightly more risky, but at least better paying vehicles to park that money in. What that basically means is we're going to be going into what's called a risk-on environment if the Federal Reserve drops interest rates. That basically means you may have to take a little bit of risk to get a better return. With the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, we've been in more of a risk-off environment. Now, this is usually terms used around bonds in the stock market, but we're going to keep it, use it as an analogy or use it as a description in this particular set of circumstances. You're going to have to be cognizant that as rates drop, if the Federal Reserve meets next year and starts to drop rates at any point in time, that you could be in a scenario where you have to get creative on how to continue saving, or at least be cognizant that you're no longer getting the same purchasing power from that savings as the Federal Reserve drops those rates. Your CDs and savings accounts will shift. CDs are liquid, so those rates will change instantly, almost instantly. And CDs will start to change over the course of weeks. As the Federal Reserve drops, you'll start to see changes in those deposit rates drop shortly thereafter. Be cognizant of this. If you're going to continue to save in that way and you don't want to take the risk, that's fine, but just be aware that you may not be getting the purchasing power out of that money when it's time to deploy it. If you're going to look at options for yourself to keep up with inflation or continue to outpace inflation, and you're willing to take a little bit of risk, you may have to get a really, really conservative stock portfolio going on. Consult your advisor for that. You may have to find some kind of other, maybe a really, really safe peer-to-peer lending platform and do peer-to-peer lending for an investment strategy where you can get, a lower rate of return for less risk, but still something better than what you're going to start to get in deposit accounts. These are just a couple ideas of things that you could be doing. There may be some bonds that are still paying decent, depending on what's going on with interest rates, but there's usually a correlation between interest rates and bonds. You'll have to do your research on that as well. I just wanted to put this on your mind going into 2024. Again, giving focus to my savers, and the financial aspect of saving money to advance yourself financially, whether that be paying down debt, saving for retirement, saving to start, launch, or grow a business. Whatever your motivation is, you need to be cognizant of the impact of economic, levers and cycles that we're in and how it's affecting your ability to save money. I want you to comment down below and let me know what your thought process is around the Federal Reserve potentially cutting rates and that affecting your earnings on your savings. What's your strategy? Are you going to keep saving in the same way you have been, or are you going to pivot? Comment down below. Other than that, you want to learn more about myself and the channel, I want you to start in the description section and work your way to the about section on the channel. To all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. Stay focused. Stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon. This is JP from Blueprint for Prosperity Network, a channel dedicated to helping you increase your net worth through relationship banking, maximizing your borrowing capacity, the proper use of life insurance, and the ownership of real estate. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm uploading content on a daily basis to help you customize your blueprint for prosperity.